What's up, everybody? I'm here with Daryl, owner of 3D Sports Cards. We're here, going to be talking some wrestling, talking about some upcoming events. So let's do this. First and foremost, thank you for being here today,
No
Daryl.
problem. I enjoy it.
What do we got going on? What is 3D Sports doing right now?
Well, 3D Sports is the newest store in Glendale. We just moved in July 2nd of this year. We specialize in wrestling. Wrestling memorabilia is our thing 'cause I love wrestling. And we're also proud sponsors of IZW Wrestling, Apex Wrestling, and WrestleDrag Wrestling, along with some other independent individuals that we sponsor as well. We do it because we love the sport.
It's love for the game, right?
Exactly. We have a couple big things coming up. We will be having Nick Nemeth, aka Dolph Ziggler, in our store for a signing November 16th from 1 to 3. Former WWE Grand Slam champion, current TNA World Champion. So it's going to be a big day for us here.
Former AAA champion.
Yeah, I forgot that. I'm AAA champion as well. IZW is also doing a show November 16th after the signing. You can see Nick Nemeth in action at that night too. WrestleDrag will be wrestling here at Bull Shooters. I don't know the exact date, but we sponsor them as well, so go on down there and check them out. We'll definitely have a lot of fun.
What do you think of his indie run so far?
I think it's been the best indie run probably since Cody Rhodes. I mean, he's gone places, he's done a lot of things. He's definitely the most wanted man on the indie circuit right now.
Kind of feels like Cody Rhodes kind of set the table or set the tone for a good indie run, right?
Yes, I mean, he went and wrestled the guys he's always wanted to wrestle. He went to New Japan, he did Ring of Honor, he did, I think he did GCW for a while. He's been all over the place. He's done really well for himself. I mean, after he left WWE with no fanfare, basically starting his own company, him and the Young Bucks, he's able to come home to the family, finish the story, win the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania, and he's still going strong. In my opinion, I've never been a Rhodes fan. I prefer Dolph over him 10-1, but that's just me.
I think I'm in the same boat. Like I'm not a fan of Cody Rhodes' work.
I think he's dud. He's
But-
very slow.
His story, I mean, you can't help but respect it, right? Like, it's literally what he says. It's from undesirable to undeniable. Like,
Yep.
we can't deny what he's done. And so that's, really cool to watch. I think, guys like Matt Cardona, I think he said something where, he's like modern day Cody Rhodes or whatever. And it's just like, I don't even think he said that, but people try to compare his run to Cody Rhodes' run. And I don't think there'll ever be a run compared to Cody Rhodes'
No.
run. Cody Rhodes created the map kind of for these guys,
Yeah.
before, I've been a fan of indie for, I would say, like 10 or 12 years. These guys would just show up local shows and just, do their gig and then leave, where Cody Rhodes was making noise from those little shows,
Yeah, Cody Rhodes, to me, I mean, he's come a long way. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember the very, very young Cody Rhodes where he came out as dashing Cody Rhodes with that mustache. That was a joke. Then they changed him into Stardust. That was another joke. So I think he needed to leave WWE to find himself again. I mean, WWE has a habit and a history of destroying big names. I mean, who can forget Dusty Rhodes coming in and being the man in the polka dots? He was a good wrestler, but I just think that whole gimmick killed his legacy, in my opinion. Wasn't a big fan of that. I mean, if you're going to change his history, don't make the man wear polka dots coming down to the ring.
Yeah.
That's like the gobbledygooker.
I see it different. I just see that, sometimes we can beat a gimmick down to its last leg, right? And so I feel like WWE tries a bunch of different creative things, and when it works, it's great. When it doesn't work, it does look ridiculous, but that's kind of just the game of life, right, is trial and error. And so I think Cody Rhodes needed to kind of hit that rock bottom to become who he was, right? He wasn't going to be a main event star if he had just stuck with these little gimmicks and these little mid-card things. And so sometimes I feel like, you need to hit that bottom to kind of build back up, right? And
I agree.
do differently.
I mean, nobody would be looking at Cody Rhodes the same now if he would have stayed in WWE for the last 5 years. When he left people missed him. So he's able to reinvent himself on fan popularity, and he built himself up. I mean, I believe size matters. I always have. And I find it hard to believe a man of his stature is able to compete and win big matches against Braun Strowman, Brock Lesnar. It just doesn't make sense to me. Now, if you put him as an Intercontinental Champion or a lesser champion, I'll find great. But the heavyweight champion, in the grand scheme of things, nobody's going to look back and say, oh, Cody Rhodes is the greatest champion we've ever had. You're comparing him to Brock Lesnar, Undertaker, Stone Cold. I mean, he's good, but he's not great at any one thing of his abilities, other than the fan popularity from finishing the story.
And that honestly it's kind of crazy how that works, right? Like, that one story catapulted everything. But without that story, like, what really does the Cody have, right?
Yeah.
Like, and so when you think about The Undertaker, he's had plenty of great different stories, right? The Rock has, I don't want to say plenty of great different stories, but he has different great stories. I don't want to say plenty because he hasn't been around that long.
People would hate me for saying this too, but I don't think The Rock was all that good a wrestler.
No.
He made his mark because the man can talk.
Yeah.
He is a great talker.
Yeah, for sure.
But kind of like John Cena now, if you take away his talk, he's not that good.
Well, John Cena, I feel like, has gone way better than when I was a kid. When I was a kid, his wrestling was terrible. And now, these old guys are probably just safe wrestling, right? And keeping their bodies intact. But I think, Cena's a way better wrestler than he was in 2006 when it was just like shoulder, fish hook, attitude adjustment, over.
One of the best wrestlers I think they have on their roster that's as a wrestler is AJ Styles. AJ Styles can be a good guy, a bad guy. He can go hair long, hair short. He's
got
good.
it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
He does everything you want from a wrestler. But, again, he's not believable as a champion in WWE because of his size.
I don't think he's a believable champion under this regime. I think the old regime definitely had him as a champion. I think Triple H honestly has his guys that he just kind of sticks by with. And if you're not one of his guys, you're going to get it. Because, they're not doing anything with AJ Styles.
I know.
The TNA collab for me is big. You can send AJ Styles over there for like a month as a gimmick where he, got cut from WWE or WWE doesn't want him anymore. So he's raising hell in TNA. And now you have TNA Invasions and War Games coming up, right? And so that honestly would make me lose my mind, having AJ Styles back in TNA.
That's true. I didn't think about it like that, but that's correct.
And so that's something that if you're not doing anything with the guy, at least have that going in TNA since you're doing this crossover stuff.
Yeah, the crossover stuff is going really well, but I've not yet seen a TNA person win on WWE turf.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they need to do that.
If they are going to win, it's someone that's probably coming over.
Right. Exactly. It's like we're sending people over there. They're dominant, but they're not winning, and they're losing in, I don't know, off ways. I won't say bad ways, but they're like count outs and just a quick roll up. The big thing for me is the crossover right now. They brought over the Motor City Machine Guns. Alex Shelley and, what's his name? I can't think of the guy's name right now. Chris Sabin. And they're going to put the belts on him. That's a good thing, but they could have did more of a build-up, explain why they're there, where they came from, to where they're here now. And they just kind of, they just showed up and they're going to win the titles from the Bloodline. That's not cool. Yeah. Think about it. They were the most popular tag teams in all of wrestling for how many years? And now they're in the biggest stage of all, and they're, okay, they're going to beat somebody. We don't know where they came from, don't know who they are. They're just going to show up and beat them. I don't like that. I want them to see more history. Yeah. I mean, right now, the open door policy, the glass ceiling, forbidden door, whatever you want to call it, AEW is doing better work with that, I think, because they're letting their guys win and lose in different companies. I mean, remember, Moxley lost in Japan, came back, and 'and 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 ' WWE's not doing that yet. I mean, we hope they will, but
Yeah.
right now they're kind of, it's WWE's King of the Mountain. You're not going to beat us.
And I get it. Like I feel like they're already stepping out of the traditional comfort zone by having that forbidden door kind of open and allowing other wrestlers to be on their platform. If they're gonna do it, they got to do it smart. Like I feel like they would need to. I mean, do what they're doing. Just make it with NXT, right?
Yeah.
And have them beat those guys. But if they're gonna do it, it's gonna be a strategic way. It's gonna be a group of people that they're gonna sign and have a crossover and kind of make it a long-term deal, right? Where their guy that they sign is gonna do it. I don't ever think they're gonna have someone from another promotion beat their guys because
No.
that's gonna set the product back that they build.
I think Triple H is trying to make all the other companies a feeder system for us. And that way, we're watching them over there. They're getting a fan base. Oh, we got to go to WWE. And then they get there. Now they have a reason to be popular. Where in the past, it's like you didn't know who Kenny Omega was because he's New Japan. Nobody knew who, gosh, who's the other guy? AJ Styles was nobody until he came over to WWE.
I wouldn't say that.
I agree. I love
there was some heat between John Cena and AJ Styles when AJ was in TNA. Like
Oh, yes.
that was
I saw
a
that
thing.
promo they did on each. That
Yeah.
was pretty good.
Yeah. So, but another thing I want to talk about is Zilla Fatu. I think he has an interesting thing that he's doing right now. I don't know if you've seen it, but he seems to go to a lot of shows that the Bloodline is at. It's in attendance, and he's just kind of meeting with fans after and taking pictures with them. And I think, honestly, this might be one of the best marketing ideas for an upcoming indie artist or wrestler, right? Is because your family's killing it in WWE,
Yeah.
right? And then you're the one that's giving the fans access to that family, right? And I feel like every time he goes to these shows, he's low-key just building a WWE fan base around him. That way he has leverage to sign, right? Like, hey, all your fans already know me. I've met with them. I've taken pictures with them. And I honestly haven't seen anybody do it. Because to me, it's kind of weird. I've seen Zilla have a bad reputation of not showing up to indie shows. And I don't know if it's some sort of just like leverage deal. Like, I don't know. Maybe Roman's in his ear and is like, no, you got to do it this way. Because Roman's all about his cash, right? And he loves seeing his family win. And so I've seen that he doesn't show up to shows, but he shows up to almost every Raw and SmackDown that it seems that Jacob Fatu is at, that he goes to. And he's making himself accessible to fans. And so I think it's a pretty interesting concept of what he's doing over there.
The Bloodline, the original Bloodline was a good idea with Heyman as the wise man. The new Bloodline, I could be talking on a turn here, but I'm not a Solo Sikoa fan. I just don't see him as being Roman Reigns.
Yeah. But that's the whole gimmick, right? Is that he wants to be the tribal chief, but we all know he's not.
I'm not.
Yeah.
I can see at some point the Gorillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga and Tua.
Tunga Tailo, I don't know.
Yeah,
Tunga Tailo
the tag team guys are going to side with Jacob because Jacob is the monster of that family.
yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
seen him wrestle in 4 or 5 different promotions, and he is just a stud. And he's got that look of a killer heel. Where Solo, he comes across kind of like he wants to be Ric Flair, dressing all fancy and talking like he's the head of the family. And it's like, dude, you're not the head of the family. You can't even beat your own guys.
Yeah.
And at some point, there's going to be a disagreement. And I believe Fatu, Jacob, is going to take him out. And I think the Gorillas of Destiny, him, Zilla, will be the Bloodline. And it's going to leave Solo by himself. Because he's already trashed the original Bloodline. Nobody likes him in there. He's losing all of his friends, so he's going to be a man by himself. What are they going to do? I mean, they're going to have a good storyline with it, but who's going to side with him? Because he's really much, he did a Randy Orton kind of thing. He's pretty much dissed everybody under the sun.
Yeah.
Who's going to follow him?
And I think that's the whole thing. Like I'm a big fan of Solo. I wasn't at first, but I try to give guys time to grow, right? Solo's situation was a little bit different. He joined the biggest fashion in WWE at the time, so he was very green. but
And he didn't do anything to earn it.
no, but I mean, it's genetically qualified, right?
Yeah.
And so he, from where he was at when he first started at Clash of the Castle, I would say, what is it, 2.5 years ago, to where he's at now. I mean, he's improved, right? I never want to see a guy be the same throughout the time. So I respect the body of work that he has. The gimmick, I love it. I think it's hilarious because it's absolutely what we're supposed to think, right? It's just this dork in a suit running with these guys that are monsters, right? But there's one monster next to him that always has a look on his face.
It's kind of like
Always has like some sort of he's there, but he's there for his own personal reasons, and that's gonna unravel the whole thing. Like we're in year 3 with this bloodline story, and there's still so much more
Yeah.
that can be told.
it kind of reminds me of my favorite movie, The Godfather. Okay, Michael Corleone was the leader of the family after Dad died. Sonny didn't want that. Sonny thought he was going to be in charge, which I put Sonny and Solo in that area. They both thought they were going to be in charge. Jacob is going to be Michael. I think that's how it's going to play out long term.
Okay, we'll see. Well, I can't wait to see what happens. I don't know. You don't watch WWE, right?
I catch highlights. I don't watch it as much as I used to.
So, because Jacob Fatu has a record in real life, right? And I like that WWE is kind of using that, right? Monday, was it Monday? Monday, Jey Uso kind of just looked at him and was like, why do you have him here? You know why the family doesn't talk to him. And so that storyline of him being this animal and this castaway family that he's here, that's going to play huge later on, right? Because he's the castaway and he's a monster. And so I like those little eggs hints. I'm not really big on what Triple H does. I think some of his little Easter eggs can get a little too corny and a little too predictable. But that one and this Bloodline thing, I think he's
The biggest one for me right now is what are they doing with The Rock? Is he the owner? Is he not the owner? Is he the one in charge? Is he not the one in charge? I think they brought him over just for the new deal with Netflix. He's going to make a few appearances, but he's not going to be the guy because he got too much Hollywood going. So when he goes to retire again, kind of like Undertaker and Ric Flair, I wouldn't be surprised if that's how Jacob makes his bones. Because like you said, he is an outsider within the family. He has a record. They don't call him the Samoan Werewolf for nothing. He's a freaking monster. Better way to take out the boss.
I think
Put
the whole
fear of
boss
God into
deal
him.
is going to be a Triple H and a Rock thing later on, just because they feuded forever,
Yeah.
right? And so now Triple H has worked his entire career to get where he's at, and then poof, like that, overnight, The Rock is his boss. And so I know there's probably some tension in the background, but those guys like to make money, and they can make money off of that.
Oh, yeah.
you know?
Anywhere The Rock goes, he's going to make money.
And so I honestly think The Rock is going to be the newer bloodline. Like, I think it's going to be War Games. I think it's going to be Roman versus Rock, their bloodline versus each other, and then it's going to lead up to their match at WrestleMania.
That's true. That could happen that way.
That's what I think is going to happen. But what I can't wait is these little looks that Triple H and The Rock keep giving each other. And
I would like to see them go back to a throwback show where you have no rules. Have The Rock come out and do his normal promos and talking and stuff, and then have Cena come out, no rules, and have I won't say a rap battle, because that's kind of old, but have a back and forth where they're on equal ground. The last time they did that, they give Rock the freedom to use bad words. Remember that?
yeah,
Excuse me. And John Cena had to abide by the PG-13 rules. So I'd like to see those two go at it and see who cuts the better promo. I think The Rock is more humorous, but I think Cena can cut him to the core a lot better with actual facts. That's my opinion. Rock was a great talker.
anytime The Rock and the Cena are cutting promos, put that on my TV.
Yes, love that stuff.
All right.
So, switching over to the undercard, I guess you'd say, AEW. What's your take on AEW? I love it, but I like anything anti-WWE.
I don't like AEW at all. I think they started off with good momentum, and then they just burned a lot of bridges for fans. And that would love to enjoy both, right? But they just burn so many bridges and get like I'm not a fan of like corniness, right? So I just criticize Triple H on his corniness. I don't like the constant shots at WWE. I don't like the promos always kind of about WWE. I don't like that they, lie about attendance, even though WWE does it. But I'm not a fan of AI bookings. I am a big fan of Pentagon Jr., and I think they're doing him pretty dirty. They just kind of made him burn his bridges with AAA, and now he's stuck in
I didn't agree with that either.
Crossroads.
That was,
and so I am hopeful it gets better, but I think it's just a way for ex-WWE wrestlers to leave, badmouth WWE, make a big check before they retire.
I've been watching AEW since the very, very, very first episode. I love it. Action's 10 times better than anything you're getting in WWE, bar none. The wrestlers get to dictate more of what they do, which is great. But because they do, you got the good with the bad. And there are some promos that are just totally horrendous. And there's some promos that go over the edge. And some matches that it's like, why are they doing that spot? They could hurt somebody. I.e. Pentagon and Phoenix when he broke his arm. I saw that match. Ooh, it was nasty. But what I do like about him is they don't carry on the same storyline for 4 years. The Bloodline storyline is great. I love all the intricacies of it. But for me, you had Roman Reigns eating dog food from Baron Corbin a year before he became the tribal chief. How do you go from eating dog food from not even a mid-card, we're talking a guy that was VIP level, to being the biggest guy in wrestling? Don't buy it. In AEW, they need to lengthen their storylines a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, this one and done stuff, I like the action. I love the Young Bucks in the ring, but they don't tell a story. It's one and done. They had Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega, to me, is the best wrestler I've ever seen come in from nowhere. I mean, I didn't have access to New Japan and all that stuff when he was over there. I saw 1 or 2 matches against Okada, and he was great. And he comes over here, and those 65, 75-minute matches he was having with Okada are now down to 14 to 15 minutes, and they're just not the same. And that's why I think American wrestling needs to take a step back and cut the amount of people on the roster in half and make sure you're showing the right people on a weekly basis. People disagree with that, but Roman Reigns is a stud, but having him wrestle 15 times in a 2-year period, that's not doing what the fans want. Then on the reverse side, having Cody Rhodes wrestle 200 matches in a year because you want him to be the champion doesn't make any sense either. So you got to find that middle ground where you have a storyline, it goes month to month, like the old days. When King Kong Bundy was fighting Hogan, they had a month build up to the next pay-per-view. Then he went on the next one, and the next one. Same with, what was it? WCW and NWA and AWA. They had a month build up, and then they went on to the next one.
And that's, for me, I think WWE was peak when they had separate shows, separate pay-per-views, and then one all-in pay-per-view like every 4 months.
Yes.
Because the wrestlers had 2 months to build their storyline for a match. When they do it a pay-per-view every month and they're on the pay-per-view every month, then they just have 4 weeks to get my interest for this match versus 8 weeks, right? But I honestly, like for me, right, the action is cool. Probably wrestling, the actual match is probably one of the last things I care about.
Yes, I agree.
If I'm all into action, then I'll watch the Olympic wrestling, but I don't care about that. I'm all about story, right? And so, if you can make me forget that Roman Reigns ate dog food a year ago, then that's good on you, right? So it helped me completely forget. I've been tuned in for 3 years now, right? AEW. I just can't sit there and watch a 2-hour show hoping one thing is good.
I fast forward through a lot of the bad matches just because I don't want to see Kip Sabian fight somebody. I just don't like that. And we talked about size matters. Darby Allin beating
Anybody.
the big guy over there, Brody King. Okay, once, hey, it could happen. Casket match, not going to casket. I can buy that, no problem. I saw Mysterio do it. But when you have him beat him 3 or 4 times, it's like, okay, now you're expecting me to suspend belief for a guy that weighs $165 soaking wet versus a guy who is a legitimate 350 and is strong. I don't buy it. And that's the kind of match that I usually just fast forward through.
I think AEW's biggest problem is just Tony doesn't take advice that he doesn't like. Like, he just surrounds himself with a bunch of yes men. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a rich guy that has a very expensive action figure collection and is just going to do what he wants.
Yep.
Versus WWE is trying to sell to fans and thinks about the fans and tries to keep the fans engaged.
If we could go back to the Attitude Era, or towards the end of the Attitude Era, WWE was great. I really lost interest in that basically after Chris Benoit and Eddie died. Because they really
That was a big loss for
They
sure.
just straightened everything up. It's like
Yeah.
the rated R superstar having simulated sex in the ring. Okay, that was must-see TV. You knew he wasn't doing it, but
Yeah.
it made you think he was. Or when Edge threw the belt in the river. You
Yeah.
know, you thought about that stuff.
Yeah.
When you see somebody jumping off the top rope, that was a 98 or 99 at Hell in a Cell with Undertaker and Mick Foley. Terrible wrestling, but it drew you in because it was a storyline. And let's be honest, Mick Foley's not a wrestler. He was never a wrestler. Nobody looks at him as a wrestler.
No.
But he was entertaining. He's probably one of the most entertaining people they had.
Yeah.
And when he took that bump, that was great TV. People remember that 20 years later. They still talk about that bump. There's nothing going on in AEW right now in the last, 6 years that people are going to remember in 20 years.
That's because Tony's just recreating.
Yeah, just doing the
WWE
same stuff.
And so that's one of my issues with it. And then I forgot I was gonna say something else.
Well, for me personally, that's why I like the independent scene. IZW is run by guys who were in WWE. Navajo Warrior was in WWE. He works their WWE 2K gaming systems. He was there. That's why it's fun. They build storylines. They get you to watch it, and it's entertaining. They don't do a show every week. They do a show every other month, and people love it. It's always a sellout.
Yeah.
Then you look at other shows, Apex. Apex, probably not a very good scenario to look at it, but look at Apex like AEW. They're starting from the ground up and building something. The people who like IZW hate Apex because they're competition. But the owner of Apex, Jared, is building something that he believes in from the ground up, and he's got wrestlers that come in there and give them their all, and it's very entertaining for the fans. I think a lot of the professional wrestlers out there forget about that. They forget about the fan, and they're thinking about, oh, how can I be on the PWI 500, or how can I be on TV or get my next $1 million check?
And that's one of the things, right? Is they're like, it's almost like they're wrestling for Dave Meltzer's stars.
Yes, I
Right.
never understood that.
And first of all, screw that guy. Like, fans don't even like him, so why are you gonna try to impress that guy? Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, honestly, I've been recording wrestling for 3 shows now, and one of the things that I'm enjoying about the indie scene is just watching the guys kind of just enjoy their process, right? We did a show at the Creepsville, and they were just given this room with the little fan, and they're all sitting in there laughing and getting ready for the matches. You know what I mean? And so I think kind of just remembering the community, remembering what the community likes, and kind of giving back to that community can only be successful for you, right?
Yes.
When you go into business for yourself and your own personal stuff, like, honestly, the one wrestler that sticks out when we talk about going to business for themselves, Sasha Banks.
Yes,
Right.
I've never been a fan of hers.
What got her there? 4 Horsewomen, right? Women's Revolution, working with all these women.
But she wasn't even a big part of it. I thought, in my opinion, it was Charlotte Flair, Bayley, and Becky Lynch who made that.
I won't say she was a part of it as well, but I feel like she lost what got her there, right? Like, she wanted to be the one. She wanted to be the boss. She wanted to be everything. And so she didn't see right. She hated being in the tag team division with WWE. That's why she left. And now she wants to be number one in AEW. And AEW will never make their money back from what they paid her.
Oh, no.
And so that's another thing where, I mean, yeah, I got her paid, but where's your success at? You know, like Bayley built up a whole stable of damage control, right? Becky Lynch putting over women before she goes on break. Charlotte Flair coming back and then putting over Rhea Ripley and leaving. Like, they're all doing that because that's what got them there, and they're giving back. Where Sasha.
Yeah, it's all about Sasha.
And so that's an example where when you make it all about yourself and stop caring about what got you there, because at the end of the day, when you do that stuff, it entertains fans. So you're giving back to your fans. When you're kind of just egoing yourself and egoing fans, you're going to have a lot of money, but maybe be lonely, right?
Yeah. Well, I've been a sponsor for IZW Wrestling in Arizona for going on 3 years. And I've been a main sponsor for 2.5 of those years. And I can tell you, from when I got there to where we're at now, those guys do some crazy things. Like, we did a steel cage match a couple years ago, and what I can honestly say, steel cage matches in WWE, they look easy. They look like the cage doesn't move, it's up there, you're protected. No, this was a steel cage match at a bar in the middle of summer. And our guy got up on the top rope, and I'm thinking, oh my God, he's going to kill himself. And it was fantastic. And it was Thugnificent, and EJ Sparks, and it was a great tag team, great champions. Then we have the best wrestler in Arizona, I feel still is to my mind, is Jacob Austin Young. He just got signed over to New Japan Wrestling, so he left our area for a while, but he'll be back. He was also my 3D Fighting Championship holder. Another guy to look out for, I think he'll be up in the majors at some point, was Evan Daniels, the current IZW Heavyweight Champion, who will be fighting Dolph Ziggler on the 16th.
Okay.
That group there is the closest to AEW level that I think I've seen in the Valley. I haven't seen every wrestling group, but I still put them way up there. Now you break it down to the most entertaining group. I don't want to upset IZW, but I think that's Apex. Apex and Sonoran Championship Wrestling put on entertaining matches. Not because of the owner, not because of the fans, but the wrestlers. He couldn't make it today, but Pete the Heat and AJ Sensation, better known as Sensational Heat, those guys, excuse me, put on one heck of a show. And they are the most popular guys everywhere they go. They draw the biggest crowds, the biggest pop, whatever you want to say. I mean, on the indie scene, when was the last time you saw a wrestler volunteer to go into a match against a referee in a hair versus hair match? It don't happen.
It's a commitment. Yeah.
Pete the Heat went into that match knowing he could lose his hair and did it with a smile on his face. And he did lose. I don't think it was a fair shot, but he did lose, lost his hair. But the fans loved it, and it got him more over than he was before. And that's what independent wrestling is about. That's what the people who go to the events want to see. They want to be entertained, not talked down to, not scolded, not made to feel
but
stupid.
Even then, like I feel like that's the wrestling can bring an experience that other places try, right? Like we got Dick's Last Resort, where it's a restaurant where people are routine. You're supposed to bicker back. You get that at wrestling, right? Yeah. People go to sports events to be a part of a team. You get that at wrestling events.
Yes, you do.
People go out just for live action. You get that at wrestling events, right?
Yep.
And so, hopefully, I would love to use this platform to kind of build the wrestling community out here, because I think an indie show out here is one of those things that when you end up at it or end up there, you're like, what the like, this is great. You know what I mean? One, it's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to get in, right? Two, depending on the venue, the drinks are pretty cheap as well, right? Mm-hmm. And it's live action, right? You're just seeing humans throw each other around, and it gets you that adrenaline rush, and gets you an experience that people used to or have had, and I think they just need to give it a chance, and it'll come become a thing, right? Like
I agree.
And so one thing is just to get them in the door, because the wrestlers will do the rest.
The best thing I can say about independent wrestling is my wife is not a wrestling fan. She doesn't follow it. She doesn't care for it. But I took her to a small indie show up in Prescott run by Ryan Klum, a former wrestler, and she had the best time she's ever had. We sat ringside. It was a quick show, I think an hour and a half long, and she was invested in everybody. She knew all the guys just after one event. That, to me, is special. Because when you can bring somebody to an event that doesn't even care about it and then show them a good time, that means you're doing something right. And I really think that's what independent wrestling does for everybody, wherever they're at, whether it be Flagstaff, Tucson, Tempe, Mesa, Phoenix.
Right now, where this world is at, like, we need stuff like that, right? Like, in a world where everything is just hard, expensive, rough, like a night of getaway and not feeling like, I'll go to Westgate and I feel like everything is just a money grab. And
Yes.
I'm paying for literally nothing, right? Where here, your money's going to, people who are grinding for this, right? A community, and you're not feeling like you were ripped off at the end of the night. You feel like sometimes you feel like you underpaid, for what you got in return for your money, right? Tickets go from $25 to $30, maybe $45, right? Depending on packages where you sit. But like the experience you get in return, the hours of entertainment and stuff like that in return is ridiculous, right?
It's a bonding situation,
for
too,
sure.
for your kids.
So I'll give you a cool story about my first indie show. It was BTW in Fremont, where Bailey's from. Bret Hart was hosting the night, and me and my best friends were going. This was our first indie show. Like, we've been to WWE shows, but we'd never been to we never even heard of this indie show. We were so mad that it was down the street from us and never even heard of it, right? And that's part of the reason why I want to try to create a platform for it, because if people just know about it, that's a different thing, right?
Right.
And so, we went to my friend's house to drink beers like we did always, right? And my friend brought his dad. Mind you, we grew up together. His dad probably has never talked to us, probably hates us because we probably snuck and drink his alcohol while he's gone, and little stuff like that. And he showed up because he loves wrestling, and he sat at the table that me and the boys always sat at. It was kind of weird that his dad was there. We were drinking beers, and now his dad goes to every indie show that we go to. And for me, that was just significant because Hispanic dads in general, but I feel like Hispanic dads always take care of their happiness last, right? Like, they're always just worried about the family, worried about work.
Yep.
And it, not even that they don't have time to take care of themselves. It's just hard to go out and like do something for yourself, right? Because you're just so used to doing stuff for other people. And so for him to like just get in that car, sit with his son and their stupid friends. And when we got to that show, it was in a backyard. Beers were like $4, so we had beers just flowing like crazy. It was a backyard wrestling event, so people were just getting thrown on tables and stuff. And I mean, it was the best time. And now, because his dad moved out here in Arizona, so whenever I go to indie shows,
You're telling me that wrestling's not fake?
right?
My God, everybody thinks
Yeah.
wrestling's fake.
And so,
Go to an
it's,
event.
it's cool to see him coming out of that comfort zone. Now, I'm really good friends with his dad, and I'm being invited to their bar to drink now instead of sneaking my way in there,
Yep.
And so, and that is just significant alone, right? For me, like, to get a dad to go do something out of their house on a Friday night for other than having to do chores, right? Like, my dad on a Friday night just wants to chill if he has nothing to do. Just wants to chill at home and do nothing. And so, it can be that for a lot of people. So that's...
Yeah, I totally agree. That's why here at 3D Sports Cards, we cater to the fan. That's what we want to be known for, is the fan-based shop. We're the biggest in the Valley for wrestling memorabilia. I mean, you can take a look at some of the things on the wall that we have. We do signings here in the store all the time. As you can see, we had Jesus Rodriguez recently, and we're having Dolph Ziggler. It's not set in stone yet, but we're working on Chris Bay, and we're working on Frankie Kazarian for signings in the store. And we try to do that to keep the wrestling love going. I mean, wrestling fans are going to know who these guys are. But even the non-wrestling fans are going to say, wow, I got to meet a famous person. He's a nice guy, and talk to him.
Yeah.
And like you said, bring the kids, bring the wife, and it's something that they all enjoy, and it's doable. You know, it's not like you're spending a month's worth of gas money to go put yourself in debt to go to WWE show and sit in the nosebleed section. You're going to be here 5 foot away from the guy, getting a picture with him and asking him questions. That's what we strive for at 3D Sports Cards.
And even like, you know, we'll say a family of 4 tickets, right? It's $100. Entertaining the entire family for $100 nowadays.
Me and my wife go to breakfast at least once a week. And just for the two of us to go to lunch or breakfast at a restaurant usually runs us with tip about $55 to $60. And that's just for breakfast. I took the family out for birthdays, 6 of us, and we spent $1,400 at Fleming's restaurant. Yeah, it was a great dinner. $1,400. That's the whole half a rent check for your house.
Yeah.
People can't afford to do that on a monthly basis. That's a yearly thing.
And that you know, dinner, right? When I go to dinner with my wife, I got to entertain my wife, right?
Yeah.
Where, you know, like I'm saying, it's $100, right? And everybody's entertained, which is not easy to do anymore in these days.
That is so true. You can't turn on the news without seeing everything for the first 10 minutes negative.
Negative, things
And then-
going up, prices going up.
And the division within our country right now is so freaking crazy. White, black, purple, green, gay, straight, whatever. They're all fighting. But why? I don't get. We're all living the same life at the same time. Why let a third person who doesn't know nothing about your life dictate how you feel? So going to an event releases that stress for 2 to 3 hours.
Especially when you can boo a hometown villain,
Yeah.
right? Or cheer on
And
a
know
hometown hero.
that when you walk away from it, you're still friends.
Yeah.
I don't know a single wrestler I've dealt with in the last 4 years that takes everything they do seriously. They're there to entertain. They know what's going on. They do push the envelope a little bit, but it's all within the art of acting. And that's what makes it more fun. I mean, you go to a movie, you're spending $50, $60 to go to the movie. That's not fun. You spend $100 just for one ticket to go to a sporting event. I mean, you're a Raider fan. Okay,
And
you can
that is just the ticket. We're not talking
Yeah.
about the hour in traffic, the $100 in parking,
Yep.
the $15 beer, the $8 hot dog.
Yep.
Like, you know,
And by the time you go home, you're more stressed by the time you get home than you were when you left.
and not even that. For me, right? You know, when I was an Oakland Raider fan, I would spend maybe the most $50 on the ticket, and that's like me getting a really good seat. Where nosebleeds is like $200. Now I need this team to win, right? I'm stressing for this team to win. Where wrestling, you're spending your money. I just want to see what happens next.
Yeah.
I don't care what happens.
You wanna
next.
see the
I just-
outcome.
Just want to see what happens. You know?
And you don't want to wait 16 weeks to find out.
Yeah.
So you watch the wrestling. Okay, I'm going to watch Pete the Heat. Okay, he's winning. Oh, he's losing. Oh, he's winning. He's losing. Oh, great match. At the end of the day, you don't know if you won or lost. You just know you had a good time
Yeah.
enjoying the match.
So, just to wrap this up, you know, why don't we just give reminders of what we got going on in the store?
Yeah, November 16th, Dolph Ziggler in store for a signing. You can also buy tickets for that evening's wrestling match at Bullshooters. We also have Christmas coming up, obviously, so come check us out. The biggest place in town for packs, singles, and memorabilia. And that's about it. Like I said, 3D Sports Cards. Remember the name, come and see us. We're family friendly, and we'll take care of everything you need. I appreciate you guys watching us.
Have a good one.